Was there anything like drastically different between Joshua and Eddie from a nutrition standpoint, training standpoint? Because you're obviously you're coaching a lot of the top guys, right? So we're here at WNBF Worlds. I'm here with Cliff Wilson, who just had two top WNBF pros competing in the overall. Cliff, what was that like just watching that happen?
Yeah, that was at a big show like this, you can never like expect something like that. I've had it a few times where I've had people in the overall together, but not at a world championship show. So that was definitely a first. I had Josh Gilliam as the middleweight winner, and I had Eddie Saldana as the light heavyweight, and then he won the overall.
Amazing. And was that I mean, it's tough, right? Because you're watching it and you're trying to almost judge it, but also root for them. What was that like?
Yeah. The thing I'll say about Josh and Eddie is they make it easy. They're both highly competitive. Like they're out there, they want to beat each other, but also they just know how it goes. One thing I always say to my clients, because also I coach a lot of high level clients, and I'm like, you can't always keep people separated, but I always tell everybody, I'm gonna get you to the best you can be. That should be your goal as well, and then the judges have to sort it out. It's the judge's job to sort it out. We're not worried about that.
Yeah. Was there anything like drastically different between Joshua and Eddie from a nutrition standpoint, training standpoint? Because you're obviously you're coaching a lot of the top guys, right? So it's an interesting thing to think about.
I laugh because their plans couldn't have been more different. I know for example, leading into the show. In the 3 days before the show, Eddie was eating 400 grams of carbs, 500 grams of carbs, and then nearly 700 the day before the show. Josh has maybe the slowest metabolism I've ever worked with, and so he had 0 carbs the day before the show. Literally, we carved him up for on a couple hundred grams 2 days before the show, and then the day before the show, I just said, all right, no carbs. Now it's 0.
It dropped down to 0 because I think he had told me 44 grams was the lowest, but he got to 0. Vegetables. I I think he was saying it was like 44.
But even
right?
yesterday, there was 0 carbs.
It was completely.
We did a couple of protein shakes and we left it at that. It was the most extreme carb deplete I've ever done. But he's been with me a long time. I know he looks sharp on low food, and that was our goal. We knew he would have the size to do well.
Proud of that. Yeah. And as far as the training, are they drastically different? I know how Eddie, because I spoke to him about that, but Joshua, I didn't get the chance to go too detailed with that. But it seems like it's quite similar as far as how you're.
It is similar, right? with training. For me as a coach, I view the training sessions as our game day. A lot of people think show day is the game day, but that's not really it. You know what I mean? Like proposing, but our game day is training, and so each day I try to draw up a blueprint. Ultimately, the goal is how intensely can they train and with how much volume. And my ultimate goal is to test the limits of what everyone can handle. Like everyone looks at my programs that I give my clients and they think it's crazy amounts of volume and crazy intensity. But my goal is to find out where that limit is, and then they discuss with me where they feel that limit is, and we just try to push that limit. So there's a lot of similarities in that regard.
Yeah. And obviously you, aside from Joshua and Eddie, which was the most epic battle on stage, and Keaton, of course, what is it like having? I think you said there's 2 other competitors you have here, right?
Yes, yeah. I had my client Tatiana. She took 2nd place in the figure masters.
Okay.
So she was runner up in the Masters World Championship. And then my client Robbie, he didn't place in the classic tall. So Josh and Eddie I've worked together for years. Josh 13 years and Eddie for 7 years. Tatiana and I have worked together for 3 years. Robbie and I, we just did a 16-week prep together. And so now we're even talking about going back to the drawing board and doing what it takes to get into that top 5.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And as far as how we were talking about the training, but are these guys training a day or 2 out from stepping on stage aside from pump up? How are you doing? How are you approaching that?
Yeah, I would say my peak week training for everybody is pretty similar across the board, is because the goal is similar. We're not trying to build muscle in that final week. It's just facilitate glycogen storage, help the carbohydrates assimilate, and reduce inflammation. So it's just a subtle tapering down. But I do have people training every day all the way into the show, but then light pumps by Thursday, Friday, or a day or 2 before the show. It's just very light pumps to get the blood flowing. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yourself, are you planning on anything specifically getting into shape to step on stage? Is that something that you're thinking about? I know you were going through it. We talked about this last time, because for those of you that don't know, we had Cliff on the podcast, of course, and obviously you mentioned you had some health stuff that you were working through.
I had those health stuff. I've been doing much better. I can actually train hard again. Amazing. And I think the thing is, I'm going to always be working towards that goal. And I think I will probably continue to head towards that goal until my body tells me it's probably not a good idea. And so, if my body has one left in me, I'm absolutely going for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Where do you think that would be? Like, would you love to be here at WNBF Worlds one year?
I'd have to see. I have to see. Because also I want to make sure my job as a coach comes first. And so I want to make sure that my prep doesn't interfere with anything that I'm doing with my clients. And so, it may be the type of thing where if I have clients stepping on stage that day, it may not be a good idea for me to divide my attention.
That makes complete sense. I think that's what separates you from maybe a lot of other coaches, right? I know there's a handful of coaches that do go to shows, of course, but I've seen it. Like the way Joshua is happy that you're there for him, and the way Eddie's happy that you're there for him. I think that goes a long way for the competitors when they're in their most stressful situations, right?
Yeah, and keeping stress low is such an important part. Like I've really seen over the years how sometimes even just the stress aspect, where it comes up and you can see people get a little filmy, a little blurry, and the more you can actually just to show them, when they can look me in the face and see I'm not worried, then it really signals to them they shouldn't be worried either.
which makes sense why you wouldn't necessarily want to compete at a big event like this, because this is for them.
Yeah,
right?
and don't get me wrong, I would love to do something like that. I earned my pro card 9 years ago at this point, and time flies. But as a competitor, I also want to get up there and do the thing as well. So I think it would just depend on how many people I have stepping on stage. If it's 1 or 2 people, obviously we could do that. But if I have a situation like where I have 5, 6 people, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, Cliff, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got some more competitors that are going to be up on stage soon. So yes. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time today. It's truly a pleasure and honor to meet you in person, because obviously we chatted once again, I think it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thanks.
Yeah.